Does power creep exist in Genshin Impact? Okay, look, the answer is yes. We've done this intro before. Power creep does exist. Many characters in Genshin are just at the top of the top right now. A lot of the 4 stars, such as Auroron and Iansan, are really strong under the correct circumstances, whereas a bunch of the 5 stars are just outright broken. With that being said, there are some newer units that are a bit underwhelming or just feel clunky to play. So how does the newest addition to the game hold up? Can she compete against the powerhouses of the game? Find out as we try to beat Genshin Impact with Only Escoffier. Like always, here's a quick rundown of the rules. I can only use Escoffier. All banners and weapons are allowed, and although she's a brilliant chef who can cook her own food, we can't eat any of it because no food during combat. And lastly, no glitches. We start off by pulling our desired 5-star character, but for some reason she's looking very green. But luckily for us, 110 pull later and...
Well met. I am Escoffier, Patissiere Supreme and Master of Precision Gastronomy. If you have an interest in the culinary arts...
Oh my god, stop yapping.
So first was Amber's domain, and I'm pretty sure you've heard enough of me complaining about this one, so I'll let this one clip speak for the entire experience. Before making our way up to Kaya's domain, we stopped by Helitrail Camp to cook some exquisite dishes. So next up was Kaya's domain, so next up was Kaya's domain, so next up...
Oh, you.
Lisa's domain was next and we skipped adding her to our party, so we had to perform the skip. Luckily for us, Escoffier is just tall enough to make it, and that marks Act 1 complete, so after a bit of grinding, we hit AR 10, which means it's time to start Act 2. But during the course of Act 2, we hit AR 12, which means it's time for a bit of a detour as we hit 2 out of the 4 dailies. As we approach our second daily, we pass by Cecilia Garden, and we unfortunately cannot unlock it because we don't have access to Animo. Escoffier right now is using Favonius Lance, a Mondstadt weapon that uses materials from Cecilia Garden. It's one of the best 4 stars for her, but it will become outscaled as we progress later in the story, so we're gonna have to cook up another weapon later to replace it. But that will come later, so let's get back to the Archon quest. We meet Venti back at Windrise and face off against the Eye of the Storm. Escoffier is a polearm user, so she's gonna have trouble against this thing, right? Nah, her skill just obliterates it. The Fatui hideout is next, and we face off Zamenhof, who just got infinite staggered, so we retrieve the lyre and go find the remaining tiers. On the way to the next tier, we clear the 3rd daily commission, which means the Ruin Guard is next, but it doesn't really put much of a fight. Our pot is doing about 7 to 8 times as much damage as our normal attacks. The last tier was hidden away, so now we have to fight our first Abyss Mage. But we just push him into the water and vaporize the ugly bastard. After meeting up with the gang, we go towards our last commission, but it's cryo slimes. Luckily for us, this ledge here just lets us plunge attack and destroy the cryo shield with ease. And that means Act 2 is done. By the way, the range on this thing is no joke. So now it was time for Act 3, and we face off against this Hydro Abyss Mage who opted for the easy way out. And now it was time to face the Terror himself. But the lizard got clapped like the idiot sandwich it is. We managed to knock him down in only 1 rotation, while hitting him with our burst for a high of 830. And after Venti got his ball skewered, we finished Mondstadt in a record time of 3 hours, 29 minutes, and 36 seconds. That's 25 minutes faster than Chongyun, 28 minutes faster than Iansan, and 1 hour and 13 minutes faster than Cloran. She's an absolute monster. Okay, 4-star. Now speaking of monsters, it's the perfect time to talk about her kit. Escoffier is a cryo polearm unit from Fontaine, who is perfect for dealing off-field cryo damage. Her normal attacks don't pack a punch, apart from her charged attack, but her skill definitely does. Her skill summons a pot, thing, and it attacks a single target every second for 20 seconds. The cooldown on her skill is 15 seconds, which means it has a 100% uptime. She's basically cooking non-stop. it's a fairly simple skill and is similar to other turret type abilities such as Oz, Yugui, and Gorba, but unlike these abilities, her mech follows her around. It's a bit funny how its position is based on the camera's position, so you can cheese a few things here and there. It attacks all enemies, but doesn't hit puzzle objects and elemental monuments, so it does have its flaws, but there are plenty of other chests in the world to get, so they're not that bad. Her held skill makes a portable pot that cooks 10 unique dishes a week, but she can't really activate it herself. Her burst is surprisingly quite basic. It's literally just one line of text. She does AoE cryo damage and does party-wide healing based on her attack. And because we're level 40, her first Ascension passive is unlocked, which grants health regen after her burst is used for 9 seconds. As a newer unit, Escoffier is not all that complicated. She doesn't need a bike or significant movement capabilities, she's just there to provide a bit more damage to the team. Which brings us to her solo run strengths and weaknesses. Escoffier is a unit meant for mono freeze comps. Her ability to shred hydro and cryo resistance is significantly greater when in a team with 4 hydro or cryo units. I literally cleared the latest abyss with a level 70 Ayaka DPS because of how absolutely broken Escoffier is. She can decrease resistances by 55% in a team, but by herself she only shreds a mere 5. However, this does not impact our solo run all that much. Because of how negative resistance works, most of the time 50% resistance shred doesn't mean 55% more damage. Most enemies in the overworld have about a 10% resistance against cryo, and therefore the difference between 5% and 55% is only about a 20 to 30% difference in damage. It still is a decent amount of extra damage, but as you'll see throughout most of the video, Escoffier's base damage is honestly good enough already. Oh, and I forgot to mention, she doesn't even get the shred until she hits level 70, so there's basically no differences in the early game. So while we let her marinate, let's begin Liyue Act 1. We finally get to see 100 men versus 1 gorilla, and we hit a damage high of 2,406. Escoffier is really a goose on the loose. First we went to Cloud Retainer and easily performed the skip first try. Next up was Mountain Shaper. Yeah, you already know what's gonna happen, just play the clown music already.
Pretty one, we're on now.
And last was Xiao, but the Ruin Hunter got caught, so that brings us to the end of Act 1. Please, please women! Please women! What the f***? Not another power saw! Come on. That's the 3rd power saw in a row!
Off to the freezer! A burst of flavor! Ha.
ごめん、フリーナ様。俺は今、お前のために怒ってない。誰も憎んじゃいない。Hi, you thought six-fingered Jose. Okay, come on, you got me the second time, fair enough. So now it's time for Liyue Act 2, and this act is perfect for Escoffier because it's all about cooking. Okay, maybe not so much. We had to bring in Amber to help us a little bit here, but even so, we did a damage high of 3,388. Next up was Madame Ping's teapot, and there was a bit of a problem with the cryo slimes, but there were pyro traps on the ground, so we can just destroy their shields a bit faster. Last up were the treasure hoarders, but it was raining, so you can already guess what happened here. And with Act 2 complete, we head to the Ascension domain to raise our world level. Speaking of Ascension, now is the perfect time to talk about Escoffier's Ascension materials. As Escoffier is from Fontaine, her local specialty is burial conches. These are everywhere. There's plenty to go around, but there are a few hidden in a few hidden places that might be a bit of a pain to find. There are a few of them that are also locked behind world quests, but without these there's still enough to go around. You only need 2 rounds of collection. Fontaine is also very accessible after you complete Mondstadt because of the free waypoints you unlock, so that's pretty neat. But now let's talk about her boss. It's a joke. The boss only has 4 different basic moves, but if you get up close and personal with it like this, it only uses 2. One of them is a whirlpool, and the other one is a set of 3 slashes. The whirlpool you can dodge just by running outside of it, like this, and the slashes you don't even need to dodge because they hit at a distance from the boss, and only the 3rd slash has a chance of hitting you, and it doesn't even do that much damage. So after using 2 moves, the boss starts shooting lasers that might hit you for a bit, But if you keep normal attacking, you will naturally get positioned behind the boss so that the lasers don't even touch you. And since Escoffier's skill applies constant cryo damage, it doesn't accumulate flow momentum and will therefore always stay in this useless state. In my opinion, this is one of the easiest bosses to date as long as you have a cryo character with a decent application. The hell. But after grinding the boss like mad, we finally hit AR28 and start Liyue Act 3. Escoffier can't activate the windmill, so no way, bro.
Hi guys, my name's Aoife, and I just turned 5.
And unfortunately, it wasn't raining this time, but we still gave the Millilith a burst of flavor. Next up was a stakeout with a Fatui, which lasted about half a minute before I realized it would low-key be faster just to kill this motherfucker. Why have I never just done that before?
You can ask the flowers, I sit for hours.
Now, even though they're cryo, the Whopper flowers aren't that much of an issue. We can just out-heal their damage with our burst. But now it was time to fight Child. We didn't even get hit in the first 2 phases, but in the 3rd phase, we did. But yeah, that's it. The guy just got full-on parfaits. So now it's Osayo time, and since we're cryo, the enemies get to do hardly anything to us, and the ballistas, like literally nothing. Our North ballista went untouched for the entire fight. And after shutting down Osayo, we finished Liyue with another record time of 10 hours, 55 minutes and 32 seconds. To put that into perspective, that's 1 hour and 2 minutes faster than Chongyun, 1 hour and 4 minutes faster than Koran, and 2 whole hours faster than Ian-san. But we're not done with chapter 1 just yet, because it's time for the Dainsleif quest. Now this is the first time we're up against multiple Abyss Mages, and to be honest, these ones aren't that bad. There's only one type of Abyss Mage that is serious trouble for us. Yeah, it's this one. Okay, fine, you got me this time, Genshin. Let's just make the next fight a bit easier, shall we? Hello, I said easier. Okay, I kept the Pyro Archer alive just to burn these guys' shields away, and it did work for a bit, but it also got me pretty low. But we got saved from death just this once. Okay, cool, thank you game. I've had my fair share of cryo mages. You can stop now. Okay, unfortunately, my only source of pyro was killed because I tried to take the Ruin Guard out first, but I got caught in the crossfire, so I had to plunge this last guy to death. But now it was time for our first Abyss Herald. Thank Parpetos, he's Hydro. And just like the Hydro Abyss Mage before him, he basically got infinitely frozen, so we finish Act 4 and do another pull on the weapon banner. Please, please, please. That's the 4th fucking sword. But we're now at that point in the game where our Favonius Lance is going to start to fall behind. And since we got 4 fucking swords, we rock farm for a bit and made a prototype Star Glitter. Now, unlike the Fav Lance, we are able to unlock the domain for Star Glitter, so we use up our resin here instead. We leveled up the weapon to 60, which allowed us to achieve a new buffed damage high of 11,508. Now, we do get a 75% cryo damage bonus here, so it's not too crazy to think about. But we've spent plenty of time in the Liyue already, so let's just set sail to Inazuma. The transport balloon is up first, and we immediately start hacking away at these treasure hoarders. We're a bit too strong for these guys though, so this part was a piece of cake. Haha, cake, get it? But just after the shortest fight in existence, we hit AR35, which meant it was time to ascend to level 70 and get that 5% shred I was talking about earlier. We killed a couple Geovashaps to ascend our weapon as well, and then continued on with the police station. We're really strong right now. Our mech is doing 1.9k damage per crit. So then we enjoy a splendid hot pot meal and finish up Inazuma Act 1. We start Act 2 just like every other run, naked.
The audacity!
Okay, for the archery test, I tried my best to complete it with just Escoffier, but there's a slight problem. Her mech attacks the closest enemy, and for some reason, this red dummy is closer to the blue one. So I started it again, and it killed the dummy before I could even position myself. So I made sure I didn't have the skill active this time, so it didn't pre-fire when I started, walked to the edge, and just as I used my skill, Escoffier stepped forward, so that I was out of bounds now. And as I started the next one, the lightning destroyed the first round, so thank you Raiden Shogun, I'll give you cooking lessons for free. I managed to get the next 2, but the 3rd round is just straight up impossible because all of the closest dummies are the wrong color. So hey, at least I got 3. That's an achievement. Cabbage Boy had to step in to clean up the rest, and we have a new contender for the shortest fight in existence.
You're up against a powerful opponent.
And that wraps up Act 2, and we finally finally pull a Prospector's Drill. But yeah, we're not gonna use it because I can't be arsed farming Fontaine mats, and I really value the energy recharge on Star Glitter. So now it's Act 3 time, and we start off at the ancient ruins. Except Escoffier can't activate them, so we call for help, but nah, f you, eh? The cooking classes are cancelled. We pull out every electro bow user we have to hit one monument each, which summons the big guy, who just dies. So it's Delusion Factory time, and we manage to knock out everyone before they can put up their shields. So it's just a set of really fast fights. Now here's something I didn't realize. If you get hit by the anti-Raiden Shogun training tool while it's raining, every time you get hurt with Electro Charge, it counts as a hit. So instead of being hit 10 times, you can only get hit twice and you're done. So all we had to do was just not get hit. Luckily for us, Escoffier is a professional. But is she professional enough to beat La Senora? Yep, I didn't even need to play it safe for this run. I literally just went ham and ran her down. Fine, I'll give you a cooking lesson. Thanks to the buff, we hit a buff damage high of 13,514, but I wanted to get a crit to see how much I would have done, so I waited a bit, and we hit a crazy high of 13,514. Rip crit, but that we finished Inazuma in 22 hours, 59 minutes, and 15 seconds. Now I don't typically compare times from Inazuma onwards because of the large differences in variations of pre-farming, but I can say that Escoffier is looking to be the fastest out of all the characters I've done solo runs for. Straight to the chasm,
What did I...
where we face off against these Serpent Knights, and I swear, Hoyo patched these because they aren't getting staggered at all now. It's happened for 2 videos in a row, and I'm concerned they're watching me. Hi Hoyo, if you're watching this, please can you buff Malwika just a little bit? I fear she's very weak and totally not overpowered at all. Thank you. This Hydro Herald, we low-key just stared him down as he died to hypothermia, and we kind of did the same thing to the Electrolector. So Rip Bozo, I'm sorry to burst your bubble Electrolector, but you weren't the toughest opponent this quest. More Cryo Abyss Mages. I lured them over to the slopes to plunge attack them, but it still took quite some time. But we managed to get them both and beat the chasm. So now it's Zaza time, and first up was the Withering Zone. We put out our skill to hit the shrooms while we charge attack the flowers to activate the Dendrogranum. Next up we cook up some hallucinogens and enter the Dream Realm, where we skip past most of the fights except this one that took about 10 seconds, and the Hydro Herald that we can't even kill. Kinda just stare down this one as well. But after hitting these guys with a drive-by for no reason whatsoever except to be a menace, we arrived at Port Ormuz for the Divine Knowledge Capsule. Hairdresser.
Trust me.
Oh, thank you. And we end off Act 1 by fighting Anahma, but these desert dwellers don't know the taste of cold confectionery. Let's bounce you around for a bit. Oh, okay. Open. What the fuck? Act 3 starts off with me doing absolutely nothing for about a minute, and then the Sumpter Beast had a serious agenda against me. Bro, what the No, don't go for round 2, what the hell? Act 3 is going perfectly for me. I even missed this cutscene, so I had to walk back and trigger it. Last on the list were these Rift Hounds, but they weren't too much of a problem. So Act 4 starts with the Alizar Hospital, and it's time for the Dendrogranum trick. Now for all of the characters I've done runs for, Escoffier is the slowest, so she's just a bit off making the monument. Also, this branch here is just a f***ing pain in the ass, but like always, it just takes a few tries to finally get it to work. Oh yes, I made it. Last up was the ruins, where we made a new dish out of these mushrooms, and that marks the end of Act 4.
Because my name is Care, I have a song to share. I wanted to thank you for making me a meme, sharing me on all your screens. I know I have a funny face, it always
5 has us fight the Fatui, but I think we're just a bit too strong for our liking. We're literally almost one-shotting them with our burst. It's the same in the factory. These guys don't stand a chance against our ice creams. Escoffier, you troll! So now it's time for Scaramouche, but we don't even have to activate any pillars against him. We can just brute force our way through his first phase. Now Escoffier's mech can't hit monuments and puzzles. However, Scarra's turrets are counted as enemies, so we don't even have to sacrifice the radish this time. It's the first character in my runs that can knock down Scarra. Monumental achievement right there. We hit an unbuffed damage high of 10,442, which means it is now time for the boat, where we obliterate Big Boy. Because my name is Tito Pear, I have a song to share. I'm not even joking. I just got 2 Tito Pear videos on my screen. My phone is listening to me. Get this thing away from me. Get out of my head. I'm not even joking. I just got 3 Tito Pear fucking reels in a row. Listen. This is the actual song. It's not even the Tito Pear song. Bro. What is this? I'm not even making this up. Like, this, I'm scrolling. It's like 1 every 5 reels. But after wiping Tito Pear from Irminsul, we finished Sumeru in 30 hours, 2 minutes and 11 seconds. So now it is time for Carry Bear, which means it's time to face the one enemy I didn't want to face, the Cryo Herald. Also, I just realized this guy's name is Fortune Lictor, even though he's not an Abyss Lictor, he's an Abyss Herald, but his title is Lictor. Anyways, once the Cryo Shield comes up, it becomes significantly more difficult for us. Our main source of damage doesn't do shit to him anymore. Luckily for us, we can use our environment to our advantage. There are plenty of places that we can use for plunge attacks, and we can hide behind the pillars for safety. But after a bit more than 6 minutes of slowly inching away at his shield, we finally break it, which means that's the end of Carry Bear. And after jumping to AR40, we finally made it to Escoffier's home nation, Fontaine. First up is the Royal Maritime Flowers, and
Seems we have to use Hydro to collect for maritime flowers.
You gotta be kidding me. Also, what the hell is the delay on these things? I swear I had the aura around me for a good 2 seconds here. Am I wrong? Finally we get 1, but we did manage to get all 3. What the fuck? Now it is time to start Act 2. And so we just went straight to the secret lair and fought off some mechs. I'm just gonna skip to the part with the humanoid mechs, but even these guys are not that much of a big deal. They do have a decent amount of health, but they're really easy to deal with, and we never get low thanks to our broken healing. But with that done, we move on to Act 3. Or so I thought, because Charlotte was occupied in the event that was going on. But after talking to her for a few minutes, we were finally ready to go back to the Fortress of Mirapede. Now I'm saying back to because she's canonically been sent there already. What the hell? What is going on? Hello, camera? Also, I tried to cheese this part with Fremine, but you can't reactivate these things, so I had to kill it. We did get it the second time though. But that brings us to Act 5, and I'm sure you all know what's coming next. The Room. Now, like the Eon-san only run, I'm running the same strat, and I'm aiming the Hydro Rogue first. That guy is a pain and needs to go. Now, the one good thing about us is that we apply cryo to everyone. It makes them move much slower and is also much easier to dodge attacks. Or some of them. But with the Hydro Rogue out of the way, we can target the Animo one next, and I've never realized this before. Escoffier's charge attacks can hit the Ruin Guard's eye. Usually it's almost impossible to get it, but because the Animo Rogue was in front of the Ruin Guard and Escoffier's charge attack has a unique arc, it's at the perfect distance for the eye to get hit. We managed to clear this domain without even dying a single time. Next up were Farina's mechs, and these were easy. They can just get infinite staggered with our charged attack. But following this was the Whale. Yeah, I never really make a big deal out of this boss because it's just dodge simulator. It only took us 3 instead of 4 eyes to beat the second phase because our parfaits attacked its shield enough. So that concludes Fontaine. So on to Bedtime Story. Now I usually skip over this quest pretty fast, but I'm gonna have to talk about it a bit more because guess what? Cryo Abyss Mages. It's not too bad though, we pick them off one at a time and just do a bajillion plunge attacks to break their shields. If I was smart, I would have used the Pyro Abyss Mage to burn the grass and push them into it, but it was late at night and I didn't think twice about vaporizing this ugly ass motherfucker. Why are you not teleporting? Bro. Oh, there you are. Okay, they were nothing compared to this annoying piece of shit here. This guy was so frustrating. Every time I got him close enough to somewhere I could easily plunge off of, he just retreats away. And look at how little our plunges are affecting him. Basically nothing. And every time we get affected by cryo, our plunge attack animation is just so slow, we can only get 1 to 2 off before he attacks again. I spent 6 minutes trying to break this annoying ass shield just for him to do this. Come here, don't you dare fall off. You oh my he walked himself out of bounds, which meant he reset himself, and now I have to do all that work all over again. And so after another 11 whole minutes, we finally take this guy down and end the world's longest bedtime story ever. Natlan begins with the Abyssal invasion at the People of the Springs, and here we meet our first Abyssal Pylon. Yeah, we kinda just stand still and do nothing. Our skill is the only thing that breaks the Abyssal Shield, so we've just got to stand right next to it so it doesn't target the other enemies. But with that out of the way, we move on to Act 2. Did they change this? I swear they only used to put out 2 fragments. I swear they changed it. Yeah, look, there's 4. The first phase used to only have 2, and now in the second phase used to have 3. But now there's 4. They must have changed it. Malko almost screwed us up over here, but this stupid spirit thing crashed into the wall. But that's basically Act 2 done. Act 3 has us fight the Fatui, but we just shred through them like nothing. And Act 4 makes us fight a Cryo Gunner for the first time, but we take down most of his health before the shield comes up, so we breeze through these couple of fights. This guy was a bit tanky, but that's all it was. So now it's time for war. It was all going fine until this section. We take out the Geosama Trail and then make our way over to Bakau to beat the shit out of this thing, which did take a minute, but when we made our way back to the middle trail, they just ignored it. But it's fine, we didn't need their help anyways. But after that, Malwika just gives us hacks, and then it's just a bunch of standing around doing nothing. So we fast forward to the present, commemorate the 1939 warriors that sacrificed their lives and continue on to new adventures, beating Genshin Impact with Only Escoffier in a record time of 38 hours, 27 minutes and 34 seconds. That's 37 minutes faster than Chlorand, 1 hour and 33 minutes faster than Chongyun, and a crazy 6 hours and 25 minutes faster than Ian-san. But that doesn't mean everything. Let's put her into the rating system to see how she compares to the other characters. For combat is an easy 5. Most of her damage comes from her skill, and it basically does everything you want an off-field skill to do. Big damage, constant cryo application, follows you around, decent range, 100% uptime. What else could you ask for? It kinda compensates for her much weaker normal attacks, but her plunge and charge attacks can low-key compete. Her burst is amazing. A ton of damage, and with her first Ascension passive, she can basically heal to full from almost 0 health. The 5% resistance shred isn't all that much, but it's still very helpful and nice to have as another Ascension passive. She struggles against enemies such as Cryo Abyss Mages and Cryo Heralds, but her sustain is bonkers, so they're just lengthy fights if anything. For farming, it's another 5. I have never seen a boss as easy as this one. Compared to earlier bosses where it's hard for the character using their materials to farm them, like the Hypostasis family, Oceanid, etc., a bunch of the newer bosses allow for their respective characters to easily farm them. But come on, this one is an absolute joke. Even if Escoffier didn't have healing on her burst, you'd just never die to it, I don't know what to say. Compared to the Papilla, I'd rather farm this boss forever. In terms of her local specialty, burial conches are just everywhere. They're just tucked away in a few nooks and crannies, but for the most part they're pretty easy to farm. For exploration, she gets a 2. She has no fancy Natlan exploration mechanic because, well, she's not from Natlan, so she's just your regular running character. Her skill can't hit puzzle objects and elemental monuments, but it can hit barrels, boxes, and anything that counts as an enemy. She can use her health skill to cook dishes in the overworld, but she needs someone or something else to activate it. And finally, for enjoyability, she gets a 3. She's a strong character for sure, but as you saw in quite a few fights, there's quite a lot of just standing still and letting her mech hit stuff. It's cool seeing big numbers, but that's about it. As a solo character, she's getting put to work more than as she would in a regular team, but it still ain't that much. Well, except for the 3 people that play her in a pyro plunge team, you guys are sick in the head. Look, I have problems with her kit. I appreciate the devs trying to bring back freeze into the meta, but to do so with a premium 5-star unit is kinda sus. Like I said before, my level 70 Ayaka was able to 36-star the Abyss simply because she got wheelchaired onto the stage by Farina and Escoffier. I don't even have shown her. To put it simply, Escoffier is an absolute unit of a character. She gets a final score of 15 out of 20, putting her on par with Chongyun and just below Koran. It's actually surprising that an off-field character did so well. And since she works well with Cryo and Hydro units, how will the next character hold up without her?